Ethan Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Enterprises, had it all: money, power, success. But there was one thing he felt he lacked: true love. His marriage to Harper, a stunningly intelligent woman, had always been more of a strategic arrangement than a passionate union. Their families had orchestrated the union years ago for business reasons. His company needed her father's influence, and her family wanted his wealth. Over time, they'd both settled into a comfortable, emotionless routine. But Ethan had grown, tired of the charade. He wondered if Harper had ever truly loved him, or if she had married him for the same reasons: business. To answer that, he devised a plan that could test her commitment. He would pretend to be disabled. The plan was simple. For a few months, Ethan would become dependent, a shadow of the powerful CEO he once was. He would use a wheelchair, pretend to be mentally slower, and essentially make Harper believe that she was the one carrying the weight of their relationship. If she showed care and genuine affection, then perhaps their marriage wasn't just a cold business deal. If she treated him with disdain or only cared about the money, then Ethan would have his answer. With his decision made, Ethan began the transformation. He hired a team to help him with the setup: a new wheelchair, special clothes, and subtle psychological coaching to alter his behavior. To Harper, he would seem like a completely different man. The morning of his transformation arrived. Harper had no idea what Ethan had planned. As she walked into the living room, she saw him sitting in the wheelchair, staring blankly ahead. His posture was slumped, his expression empty. "Ethan." Harper's voice trembled with concern. "What's going on?" Ethan looked up at her, feigning confusion. I don't know, Harper. I can't move. I can't think clearly. I feel so lost." Harper rushed to his side, her face full of genuine panic. No, you're not lost. We'll get you through this. Don't worry, okay? I'm here." Ethan was taken aback by her reaction. It was unexpected. He had prepared himself for her to be shocked, maybe even disgusted, but instead she was compassionate. Her hands trembled as she helped him with his breakfast, constantly checking in to make sure he was comfortable. For the first time in years, Ethan felt a warmth from her that wasn't about business or obligation. Days turned into weeks, and the transformation was harder than Ethan had anticipated. He had expected to keep his distance emotionally, but he couldn't help noticing how Harper cared for him. She went out of her way to make sure his needs were met, often sacrificing her own comfort to ensure he was okay. What started as a calculated experiment began to feel like something much more real. Harper would sit by him in the evenings, reading aloud to him or talking about her day, and Ethan found himself genuinely listening, enjoying the simple intimacy. She would hold his hand, and Ethan's heart would race in a way it never had before. One evening, as Harper helped him into bed, he looked up at her, his heart pounding. She seemed so kind, so selfless, and suddenly, the cold business arrangement they had lived in for so long seemed so distant. He was seeing her for the first time, not as his wife in name only, but as a person who cared deeply about him. "I don't know what I would do without you," Ethan said, his voice shaking slightly. He hadn't meant to sound so vulnerable, but the words spilled out before he could stop them. Harper smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair away from his face. "You won't have to. I'm not going anywhere." And in that moment, Ethan realized he had fallen in love with her, not out of obligation, not because of their families or the business deal, but because of her kindness and the way she made him feel loved. It was something he hadn't known he was missing. After several weeks, the time came for Ethan to reveal the truth. He had intended to tell Harper about the ruse, how he had pretended to be disabled to test her love for him. But when the day arrived, he hesitated. He knew that the truth could hurt her, and he wasn't sure if it was worth it. Harper sat beside him one afternoon, her hand in his as she gently stroked his fingers. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" "Anything," he replied, his heart still racing at the sight of her. Do you think our marriage was ever more than just a contract, that maybe it could be something real?" Ethan's throat tightened. The very question he had been asking himself. "I think it could be real," he said, his voice low, "but I have to be honest with you. I never needed to pretend. I just wanted to see if you truly cared for me, without all the expectations." Harper blinked, clearly confused. "What do you mean?" Ethan took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I'm not actually disabled. I've been pretending for the past few weeks. I wanted to see if you would still care for me when I wasn't the powerful CEO, when I wasn't the man who could give you everything." Harper sat in stunned silence for a moment, and then her eyes filled with tears. You've been pretending this whole time?" Ethan nodded, guilt creeping up his spine. "I'm sorry. I didn't trust you. I thought I needed to test you to know if you loved me." She shook her head slowly, wiping her eyes. "I'm not angry, Ethan. I'm just hurt. You didn't trust me enough to be real with me. You should have told me, not made me think you were sick." Ethan's heart sank. He had broken the very trust he had wanted to rebuild. But then, as Harper reached out to touch his face, she whispered, "But even so, I love you, Ethan. I never stopped. And I'm glad you finally saw me, not for the business deal, but for who I really am." From that day forward, Ethan and Harper rebuilt their relationship on a foundation of honesty and genuine love. No more pretense, no more testing each other. What had started as a business marriage turned into something neither of them had ever expected, a real, deep connection. Ethan no longer needed to test her love. He had already found it, in the quiet moments, in the way Harper had cared for him when he was at his weakest. And for the first time in his life, Ethan realized that love wasn't about status or appearances. It was about being seen for who you truly are. In the end, the experiment had given him the answer he needed, but not in the way he had expected.